Well, today, Vladimir Putin told Russia's parliament that the goal of Russia's war in Ukraine will be unconditionally fulfilled. This comes as Moscow is now threatening to attack Ukraine's capital of Kyiv in retaliation if Ukrainian forces target troop supply lines in Russia. This is Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov yesterday escalated the threat of a nuclear conflict, saying the threat is real and a danger is serious. Lavrov accused Ukraine of developing nuclear weapons with the help of the U.S. Joining us now to discuss the latest developments, former economic advisor to Vladimir Putin, senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy and Newsmax, and analyst Andrei Illarionov. Andrei, welcome back to the show. Reports indicate that Putin's advisors are telling him that Russia is winning the war. You used to be a former economic advisor to Putin, as I mentioned. Were you ever able to give him honest assessments, or did you have to sugarcoat things?
Good evening, Lindsay. Nice to be with you. Situation now is getting really very serious, even compared to what we have seen over the last 2 months. Yes, you're right. I try to be honest with anyone, including with Putin when I was in the Putin's administration. But now I'd like to be very honest and open with you, as well as all who listen to and watch us right now. It looks like we're heading for the real showdown, for the turning point, even in this bloody war. Looking at the rhetorics coming from Kremlin and looking what they are doing, what they're preparing to do, especially assessing what is going on in east of Ukraine, I have a strong feeling that Kremlin and Putin is preparing for much more serious escalation of military and economic attacks, not only on Ukraine, but also on Moldova and on Europe. As you know, Kremlin shut down gas supply for Bulgaria, Poland, and is preparing for shutting energy supply to Europe. And for something else, looking at the rhetorics and the body language of the Kremlin leaders. And at this point, it seems to me that the current U.S. administration is not really understand and is not ready for this showdown. The recently published data on the military aid from the United States and other countries to Ukraine shows that U.S. military aid to Ukraine now is 100 times less than, for example, Estonia in relative terms. So the United States is a big country, and it just in absolute terms, it's a substantial resources, but in relative terms, meaning per capita or the share of GDP, the share of military expenditure, it is 100 times less than such military aid from little tiny Estonia. So it is urgent that the United States administration should reconsider its own contribution to the defense of Ukraine and defense of Europe and defense of the Western allies in the European continent.
Hey, Andrei, I want to get back to this idea that Lindsay brought up in terms of the advice that he's getting. When you know, because again, this goes back to this idea that advisors are giving him information to make him think that he's winning. But when he was getting advice from people like you, does he take that, or is he tend to just, if he doesn't like the advice that he's getting, does he go his own way?
So in my time, it was a very different story, and especially because I'm an economist, I was giving him advices on economic policy in which he did not consider him a specialist. So that is why he listened to me carefully. And I would say in my time, he fulfilled maybe 95 to 98% of my advices, which was pretty high coefficient for any advisor. So, and it contributed to the outstanding economic growth in Russia for 10 years. Russian economy actually doubled in size. Russian GDP per capita doubled within 10 years. But since I left and since year 2013, Russian economy is in stagnation. So that is why probably he listened to some other advices, or he has changed his mind. But the very different story with advices on security and defense policy. In those areas, he considers himself as a specialist, as an expert, as a professional. So that is why he relies on his own understanding of what to do, what not to do. And also he has around him people from the former KGB, from FSB, from military, and they are giving him different advices, and he is ready to listen to different advices. So that is why it's probably slightly different areas and slightly different approach to different advices in different areas.
That makes sense.
Andrei, I only have about 30 seconds left, but I do want to get your take on this. May 9th is coming up, which is Victory Day in Russia. Many people have speculated how Putin is going to use this day. How do you think he will use May 9th?
I think the most important for Putin is not May 9th, but May 7th. This is a date when he was inaugurated for the first time in year 2000. And after that, he has used each year this May 7th as a special day. He considered for him that this particular date is very special. He was very lucky at that date. So that is why the real purpose, the real goal of his orders is just to get something by May 7th. And after that, 2 days later, for the rest of the people, he could celebrate so-called victory. So that is why I would urge everybody to concentrate attention to May 7th. What will be achieved or won't be achieved by that day.